Popcorn Junkies!
Popcorn Junkie Movie Club. Actually, you might not know that we've actually got an Instagram account. If you'd like to join us there, Mark does a brilliant curation of it.
Yeah.
Loads of lovely.
Which we create our own images. We don't just lift them. We kind of
it's a
curate them.
really nice Instagram account. We'd love your support if you'd follow us on there and tell all your friends. And please, can you subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and click the like button, but only if you like what we've done.
Yeah.
If we haven't, you can do the thumbs down.
Our mission is to become the UK's leading film and TV reviewing channel that also has great fun doing family vlogs, food and fun. So
we're pretty hot shit, really.
Yeah, if you can cope with all that stuff, subscribe, because and Dirty God. We're about to review Dirty God, and Dirty God is one of those films that we get invited to screenings, and some films are mainstream blockbusters, and we review them, Rocket Man, and then at the other end of the spectrum, there are films that really deserve to have a spotlight thrown on them. So Dirty God is a British movie. It stars a newcomer called Vicky Knight, who I've Instagrammed on our Popcorn Junkies Movie Club Instagram account. I saw the film a long time ago. Nadia saw it separately. And so she's not a professional actress. It's her first part. And it's notable because she's been cast in this film as the victim of an acid attack by her boyfriend. Though she herself, the actress, has all manner of burn scars and damage from having herself been burnt as a child.
In a house fire. And actually, I wonder if we can put the link up to the review, the article in The Guardian, because I read that before I saw the film, and my God, this woman, just before we even talk about her as an actress, as a woman, a phenomenal person. What she's been through, and to not have given up completely on life is quite extraordinary. So I was really excited to see the film because I was already so impressed by her.
I mean, the first thing to say is it's a British film. It's clearly low budget, and it's an incredibly, I'd say, spare and quite sparse and quite candid and sort of undramatic portrayal of a young woman as she tries to rebuild her life and restructure her life after having had acid thrown all over her by her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend.
I think that's a really good thing to say, actually. Is undramatic.
It really is quite undramatic.
It's grueling, but it's undramatic.
Yeah, and
in the best possible sense.
Exactly.
It's not sensationalised.
Not at all. In other films, you get the French New Wave films, you get moments of long years where you get characters looking off wistfully. I mean, for example, the very beginning of the film, I don't know if you remember, starts with a series of quite beautifully composed shots, extreme close-ups of Vicky Knight's skin. She plays a character called Jade. Extreme close-ups where you're disallowed from not looking at the scars, which I thought was a very clever first way into the film, because the first thing I do, and I think we all do, when we see anyone who has any kind of skin issue, burns, any damage, or in inverted commas, any kind of physical disability on a surface level, is we look the other way, or one feels one shouldn't stare.
Yeah.
And I thought the most amazing thing about this film was...
You want to look, and you want to know, but you have so much fear that you're going to hurt or offend that you do look away. Yeah.
And so the film removes that choice from you.
Yeah.
And in that first moment, you've got 6 extremely close textural shots of just skin. And at first you're thinking, what the hell is this? And then you begin to realise, oh, okay, this is...
And dare I say that I found them quite beautiful.
Yes, totally agree. Totally agree. And so that beauty, by making them kind of aesthetic, flipped it on its head and just shifted. I don't know what it did, but it shifted my perspective, and it didn't make me feel guilty from there on in to look at her face.
Yeah,
because I would have felt a bit. Yeah, it was very clever. And I don't know if you remember, shortly after that, it then cuts to a shot of her looking out of the hospital window for a long time over London or Kent or wherever she is. And I thought it was quite a beautiful start. And then really the film, as I said, just very undramatically charts her sort of return home, the beginning of her rehabilitation, the terrible dealing, I mean, the stuff with her having to deal with this mask, the plastic mask of breathing, sleeping, the pus that's coming out of her skin.
And I loved that first scene with the friend.
Oh.
It was so touching. It was...
Where they were trying the dresses on and stuff.
Yeah, it was so touching. I mean, she became a huge disappointment, the friend, through the film. I mean, I honestly wanted to slap her.
Yes.
But in that first scene, it was a scene of like acceptance and friendship and intimacy. It was a beautifully done scene.
It's the weird thing of when you talk about acting, great performances aren't being acted, they just are. And I felt, they are the truth. And it reminded me a little bit of the woman, and I forget her name, who played the mum in, I think, Fish Tank, who was also a non-actor, who just inhabited the part because perhaps it was so like her life. You know, she was encouraged to stay close to who and what she was. And
that's very grueling for her. When you read the article, she had a really tough time. And I mean, even those first scenes when the director wanted to shoot so up close to her, she found it incredibly hard. And she had to be convinced to do this film over and over again. She is in the truth of it. And that's why, I mean, it feels documentary. I mean, it's not, because she's not a victim of an acid attack, but my God, you don't think for us, you believe every single second of it. Oh my God, and the heartbreaking loneliness. You just can't believe every scene. I can't believe I'm going to see her in the next scene. Because everything was unbearable. Everything she had to put up with. Even down to just seeing her friends kiss and laugh.
I was going to say, but I thought that was quite a protracted sort of number of sequences where she was looking at her friend kissing the boyfriend on the bus. There was the scene at the club. And she's a very lusty woman. Yeah, exactly. And I thought, again, but that was presented in a very ordinary way. Why wouldn't she be a young, sexual, wanting to have connection with, satisfy her own sexual urges and what have you? And so she's looking out in the world. And so you felt that thing of her being behind this mask, although not with the mask on when she was out. I thought she played that distanced from the real world. Gives me goosebumps thinking about how that must have just been, and it perhaps still is what she feels. To a degree.
Well, again, I had to refer back to the article, but when she talks about the terrible bullying and the appalling way that people have treated her through her life, that loneliness is real and that disconnect is real. I loved the magic realism as well, and also the truth of the fact that no matter that this man did this appalling thing to her, this boyfriend, this incredibly violent act that caused the most unbearable suffering, she still fantasizes about having sex with him. Absolutely, fantasizes about having sex with him. And there were these moments where he reappears to her in quite... this is what I loved about this film. As a bird with wings, because of the tattoo on her hand. And I thought this idea of the bird and freedom and all that, and I thought within what was ostensibly, you said it when you were watching it, it's a bit Ken Loach, though I'd say Ken Loach I do find a little bit kind of hectoring in his sort of politics. This was slightly more stylistic, I would say, and more considered in its structure. But I thought those moments of magic realism for me were truly magical, because they contradicted what you would have thought she would have felt about a man who'd completely destroyed her life or harmed her life. Except nothing is just ever black or white, is it? Exactly. She has a daughter, very young daughter with the boyfriend, and she lives with her mum. And she goes out and she stays out and she leans on her mum to kind of look after the kid. And her mum plays beautifully. Sorry? The actress that plays her mum does it. I thought she was great. And also her mum is responsible for nicking stuff and then selling it on. So you see her sort of taking the security tags off stuff. And I thought, again, that was just very real. And I thought it was a very, and her mum looked barely older than her. So people with no choices. Yeah, she was definitely a young teenage mum, wasn't she? Yeah, absolutely. And there's that whole, now I thought the character of the boyfriend of her friend was a really compelling performance. And he's the one that... Did you feel a real sense of anxiety the whole time she was in clubs and she was out? Yeah. I felt so anxious, I couldn't breathe. Louis Robinson plays him. He's a really cracking actor. It was such a good performance, and it just fascinated me that he found her so attractive. Yes. And I loved that we saw that, because of course she is. Yes. I mean, Vicky Knight, the actress, and the character is incredibly beautiful and fragile and vulnerable, but you would not have expected, it was totally counterintuitive, that this kind of bit of a wide boy, he was fascinated by her and quite, and was lusting after her. I loved that part of it. Yeah, I thought that part of it was great, and I thought that the three of them were just, it was three new, brilliant, great young actors. I mean, cracking Fred was cracking as well. Now, of course, you move through... And just a little tiny nod to the actress that played the mum of the boyfriend. She had a few lines.
Yes.
But my God, she told us a story.
Didn't she? Now, as a pre-warning, there are, going back to this idea that Vicky Knight's character wants to feel that same sort of sexual belonging and desire and be desired by others. She finds herself turning inwards in a very sort of solitary manner online, as many kids and people do, I guess. And she goes to sort of essentially sex chat rooms. I'm not a lot shocks me in the cinema. I've seen pretty much everything. And I have to confess, there was one, so I would advocate that if you're thinking of taking, this isn't a film for kids, I think the certification is right on this. Only
is it 18?
Because, no, it's a 15.
No!
Well, I think it's going to be a 15.
Oh,
yeah.
I would
Maybe
say
it isn't,
it's
I don't know actually, it's not
18.
been...
I was very surprised when I suddenly saw a great big wanger just come out of nowhere.
Great big wanger.
Well, it was. I mean, because you said to me, you can watch it, you can take Kiki.
Well, to be honest, I had forgotten that bit, but yeah, watching...
Because there was no warning, he was suddenly,
Yeah.
and he was playing with himself, and it was like, no.
But it was an incredibly shocking, and I found it really challenging because I found it a really awkward watch, the scene where she's essentially masturbating and she's showing herself off to people. But I felt her lonely. All I felt at that point was a sense of parental protection. I just wanted to scoop her up, put a blanket round her and say, for God's sake, I'll find you a boyfriend. You can have a normal relationship. Don't be searching for it like this. But again, I thought that was almost...
But then it was quite empowered.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see her as front. Of course, later on when she finds what's gone out online about it. But actually, I just saw it as her choosing to find a way for her to satisfy her
worked
needs.
for her in a room with a kid at the end of the bed with no choices.
She was as empowered as they. I thought, oh, this is quite good. I didn't really realise chat rooms were like, this is great. This is a load of adults, all consenting adults that are lonely or don't want to go out, and they're getting they're getting their rocks off.
So, I mean, again, one has to say an enormous shout out to Vicky Knight. I mean, if this is your first major part, to do half the things that she does in this film, to get through that, I mean, what a challenge. I mean, presumably...
She got very, very upset in the masturbating scenes.
Yeah.
She found it really, really hard.
Well, I can only presume any other part she takes on after this will be much easier. It felt very authentic. It wasn't gratuitous. It really added another layer to her loneliness.
It wasn't. I mean, it was gratuitous, but it was gratuitous.
What did you think of her connection with her friend at work? I thought that was nice over the cigarette breaks. That was
loved
lovely.
the Polish. Was she
Polish?
Loved her. Loved it. Just so understated.
Yes.
It was just, for me, it was so beautifully written and then played because you don't need to say much.
No.
And you can tell the story.
Yeah.
I think the story was just brilliantly told.
Yeah.
Her kids weren't there and then her kids were there and she couldn't have her own.
Yeah.
And again, she probably had 10 lines.
Yes.
She was brilliant.
Yeah, and other little moments there are moments of humour, I thought, where, she got stoned with her friend and then goes into was it a social worker and she's talking about getting a job and she can't stop giggling.
But also I really like that because it's that, or everything is about a POV.
Yes.
So that social worker is looking at her going, oh my God, she's come, she's come out, she's got a kid, she's sat here off her face. One, and you could, it would be so easy to sit in judgment. This
story developed. There was another moment which I thought was very distressing, where she's in court and she has to actually face her ex-boyfriend who attacked her, and she wets herself, and I thought that scene was very distressing, and again very undramatic in its sort of standard. She wets herself, she looks down, she tries to cover it, and then you notice her mum and her friend just looking at her. And there's nothing said, nothing more is made of it. You just think, nothing more said of it. So heartbreaking. Now, of course, for me, I could see what was coming when she then books in for a plastic surgery session in Morocco.
I actually didn't. I don't think we should tell people what's coming.
Well, no. I mean, put it this way: she books in for plastic surgery and she heads out to Morocco. And she takes.
Which I was really surprised. I had no idea we were going to go to Morocco in the film.
Right. And
I didn't know. Oh, we're on a location.
Yeah, and we won't ruin again she tries to tap her mum for money, but we won't ruin how she actually gets herself out there. But she gets herself out there. She gets herself out there with her friend and with the boyfriend, played by Bluey Robinson. Who I have to say again, Bluey Robinson. I just thought
Do you know him from anything else?
I don't know him from anything else, but I can tell you now, Maddie's going to adore him.
He is brilliant.
He is brilliant, and there's a moment between them, and that is the moment of sort of intimacy in the film where she has her moment, and I thought it was beautifully done. I thought it reminded me of all those sort of, you had that smell and sense of sort of holiday romance. You could feel that she was breaking rules because it was her friend's boyfriend, but he was kind of tender.
The chemistry was incredible.
Chemistry was incredible.
Round of applause for Vicky Knight for her performance, because she's actually gay.
We won't say what actually happens out there. Go and see the film. But
we won't say what happens at the end.
There was one moment where she was in a club, and again, I think she has a vision of seeing her. I think it was a club in Morocco, wasn't it? She sees a vision of the guy who attacked her ex, and then you see these moments of literally the birds flying into the lights. And at that point, it was interesting. I saw this with Nadia, and at that point, Nadia was sobbing uncontrollably because after the event, she said it really reminded her of her own dreams and thoughts when she was a young woman and hopes. Aww. It was a deeply romantic moment. I thought it was a deeply romantic moment in a film that you could argue was quite functional and sort of blunt and it just presents the sort of reality of things, and yet you had this deeply romantic sort of vision. And as we say, we're not going to spoil the end of the film, but interestingly, the film does end on an upward tilt, doesn't it?
Tilt.
It's not an
happy
upward tilt. It's not necessarily a happy ending. But
it's a tilt that, quite frankly, I needed.
Yeah, and I think what it avoided, and it does avoid, is those things that Ken Loach's films I think don't. It wasn't hectoring. It didn't have a political point. It wasn't like just a prurient sort of let's look at something that's odd and different and weird and what's she going through. I just felt it completed the story nicely and logically, and it left you leaving the cinema with a sense of hope and belief in the characters rather than a sense of, oh God, it's all fucking awful. But final point I wanted to make, in terms of diversification and representation on the screen, this film has to have one of the biggest shout-outs of all time, I think, in terms of just casting Vicky Knight. Yeah. I think it's a remarkable thing.
Casting Vicky Knight, huge shout-out, makes me feel quite emotional.
No.
Because you every so often you see a performance and you can just and partly I suppose as well because she's not a trained actor, she went through what we saw. Yeah, it was a grueling piece of work, and because of that she gave so much to
No, I understand.
She gave so much to the audience, and I can imagine how difficult that must have been between her and the director. The director must have had to be very brutal and push her beyond what she wanted to do. God, it just makes you think again. I mean, not just what the acid attack and all of that, but just how hard life is for so many bloody people and how privileged so many of us are. So it's a really, I hate to say it, but I think it's a really important film.
I agree.
I think there's something like 500 acid attacks a year in this country, and it's on the increase.
The amount, the degree to which she shared with us and showed her vulnerability was, in many regards, remember Izzy saying this about her film once, it was like a gift. It was like a gift of a film. And in that sense, I felt very, not protective in a patronising way, but very protective of what her next moves are as an actress, actually, because I think she's put out a remarkable performance there, and I could well imagine that in all the fuss and nonsense that's going to come, and I think it will be, she could well be up for the BAFTA's Best Newcomers. I think deservedly so, if she does. And I just hope that she's got people around you, Vicky, that will, be looking out for you, because it's,
I mean, the thing is, it's like we always say, isn't it? We love to go to the theatre. I love to be, whatever I'm viewing or watching or whatever it is, I want to feel something deeply, and you don't get it enough, and there's a lot of shit theatre, but when I get it in the theatre, there's just nothing quite like it. And the same with movies, and we see a lot of great films, but she put me under her skin. That's what she did. She didn't only inhabit her character, she got us under her skin, and I think that is phenomenal, and I think she went through some big shit to do it. So.
Score out of 10?
What do you think?
10-10. 10-10. Well done, Vicky, and well done, Sacha Polak, and well done the rest of the cast. Bloody hell.
And producers and everybody. It's so hard to get
important British film. Everyone go and see it.
Yeah.
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.